Blue Cove, a small fishing town, rested on the edge of a vast and mysterious ocean. The locals lived simple lives, waking up to the sound of crashing waves and going to bed with the lullaby of the sea. For generations, the ocean had been their livelihood, but it also held a dark secret. Old sailors spoke of a silent killer that haunted the deep waters. Most dismissed it as a myth, a story to scare children. But the truth was far more terrifying than anyone could imagine. One summer, a group of marine researchers arrived in Blue Cove, eager to explore the uncharted depths of the ocean. Among them was Mia, a skilled diver with a fearless spirit. She had heard the legends of the silent killer, but shrugged them off as mere superstition. The ocean was her playground, and she was determined to uncover its secrets. Mia's team consisted of Tom, a veteran oceanographer, Sarah, a marine biologist, and Jack, the captain of their research boat. Their mission was simple: explore the deep-sea trenches near Blue Cove and gather data on the marine life there. But as they prepared for the dive, the local fishermen warned them. "There's something down there that no man should ever see," an old fisherman said. His voice trembled, and his weathered hands shook as he spoke. "It takes people, quietly. You'll never hear it coming." Mia dismissed the warning with a smile, but something in the old man's eyes left her unsettled. Still, she and the team pushed forward, determined to begin their dive the next morning. The first dive went smoothly. The water was crystal clear, and they marveled at the vibrant coral reefs and the schools of fish that swam around them. But as they descended deeper, the water grew colder, and the sunlight faded into darkness. Mia's flashlight illuminated only a small part of the vast ocean, and beyond that, there was nothing but blackness. Suddenly, her radio crackled. "Mia, do you hear that?" Tom's voice came through, but it was shaky, uncertain. "Hear what?" Mia asked, her heart beginning to race. There was a pause. "It's like a hum, very faint. I can't explain it." Mia listened closely, and sure enough, there was a low, eerie hum. It seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. She glanced around but saw nothing unusual. As they reached the ocean floor, something felt off. The sea creatures had disappeared, and an unsettling stillness surrounded them. They continued their exploration, collecting samples and data. But the feeling of being watched never left Mia. It was as if the ocean itself had eyes, staring, waiting. Then, without warning, Tom screamed. Mia spun around, her heart pounding. Tom was gone. His equipment floated aimlessly in the water, but there was no sign of him. "Tom!" Mia shouted through the radio, but only silence answered. Panic began to creep in, but the team pressed on, hoping that Tom had somehow surfaced. Minutes later, Sarah vanished too. One moment she was right beside Mia, and the next she was gone, swallowed by the darkness. Mia's breath quickened as fear tightened around her chest. She and Jack were the only ones left now. "Something's down here," Jack said, his voice trembling. "We need to go. Now." But as they turned to ascend, Mia felt something cold brush against her leg. She froze, her eyes wide with terror. A long, dark tendril, almost invisible in the water, coiled around her ankle. It was so thin, so silent, that she hadn't even felt it at first. Mia screamed and slashed at it with her knife, but the tendril was strong, pulling her deeper into the abyss. Jack grabbed her arm, pulling her free. Together, they kicked toward the surface, but the tendril followed, winding through the water like a snake. Mia could feel it brushing against her, cold and sinister, as it reached for her again. They finally broke through the surface, gasping for air, but the terror wasn't over. Jack pulled Mia onto the boat, his face pale and eyes wide with fear. "What was that?" he whispered. The locals had been right. There was something in the water, something that hunted in silence, something that never let its victims escape. It wasn't a shark or a giant squid. It was far worse.
It was unseen, unheard, and unstoppable. Back on shore, the remaining townspeople gathered around them, their faces etched with fear. "You've seen it, haven't you?" the old fisherman asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Mia nodded, her body still trembling. "It's real," she said, her voice hoarse. "The silent killer is real."
The townspeople looked at each other, their worst fears confirmed. For years, they had lived in denial, pretending the ocean was safe. But now they knew the truth. The silent killer was not just a legend. It was a predator that lurked in the deepest parts of the sea, hunting in silence, taking its victims without a trace. Over the next few weeks, the town changed. The fishermen stopped going out to sea, and tourists avoided the beaches. At night, people swore they could hear the faint hum, the sound of the silent killer calling out from the deep. Mia, haunted by the disappearance of her friends, left Blue Cove, vowing never to return. But even as she moved far from the coast, she could never shake the feeling that something was watching her. The ocean had claimed her friends, and the silent killer was still out there, waiting. And every so often, late at night, she would hear that hum, a faint, eerie sound, almost like a whisper. It was a reminder that the ocean, as beautiful as it was, held unspeakable horrors beneath its surface. And in the deep, dark waters, the silent killer waited for its next victim.